as I mentioned before, that the students have done quite a lot of work and brought lots of issues that we should consider. And we normally try to address human-elephant conflict. When the conflict is occurring, how do we deal with it? They have brought in the approach of planning, how important planning is to prevent the conflict from happening or managing the conflict. Right? So I think that was very, very useful. I'm going to put my panelists on the spot, asking them, since we all voted for different policy, different solutions, whether each one of us could give a few comments on what you thought was the most important solution that was suggested by the students, and if there are any shortcomings, that is not meant as a criticism to you all, but as constructive criticism, so that all of us will learn from it, as well as how you think we could take that solution that you feel is the best to the next level. I'll start with Mr. Marasinghe from the Wildlife Conservation Department.
Thank you, Sumit. First of all, I have to congratulate all these students, and I have to do my marketing also. And most of the phases here, every year, annually, we meet in Wildlife Lanka Symposium, where we see a lot of ecologists or scientists doing research on ecology, wildlife conservation or forest conservation, do their presentations. But very rarely we see Moratuwa graduates or undergraduates making their presentations. I think this kind of presentation will add more value to that because the flavor is different. So that is what I want to highlight first. And regarding these alternatives, I have very, not so clear answer, because all these three alternatives are, interesting, right? Only the thing is now they have used whatever the existing knowledge, and I found the real, ecologists, so environmental scientists have more things to contribute there, because most of the coefficients, so the variables they have used are based on, guesstimates or guessing. So those are the areas we have to contribute. So I think at the moment, all these four alternatives are, there may be applicable areas, but the thing is, it showed me a lot of vacuums, so gaps in knowledge, where the natural scientist has to contribute.
Thank you, Ranjan. I'll leave Chatura to the end, if you don't mind, because you might have to respond to some of the other things. From an NGO point of view, Supun, and you've been involved in a lot of HEC-related work, reporting about it, as well as discussions with communities. Some of the solutions that you see, I also feel, I agree with Ranjan, that you can't pinpoint and say one solution is the best. But there is a lot of things that we can learn from some of these solutions proposed. How would you see?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I also would appreciate the young people and those who have done a great thing about the HEC. When I looked at this presentation, in one time I feel we are talking about the National Action Plan, because some things are correlated to that. And in some instances, I feel that we are talking about the elephant conservation areas, including managed elephant ranges, because in some maps, they are exactly the same to the elephant conservation areas. Therefore, I think their presentation and their approach and things that they have considered in this presentation are really truthful. And I want to emphasize one more thing, that they are focusing on compact human settlements and high profitable agriculture and the things related to the protected areas, and also the tourism and sustainable agriculture, how we can incorporate human-elephant conflict here, and how we can convert it into coexistence by tourism and something like that. In that sense, it's really nice, but as Mr. Marasinghe said, there are some ecological consequences there, but if they can, actually the problem is we don't have much knowledge about the elephant ecology, and we have to do much more studies on that. After having that information, if we can incorporate this information to the attempt, then it will be amazing for sure.
Thank you, Supun. I also feel that something that I have believed for a long time, that in Sri Lanka, government agencies don't use university students enough to assist them. I think private sector is also the same, that we should be trying to use university students more in the work that we are doing.
Actually, really, it's a really happy thing that in National Action Plan, you gave the way what is the responsibility of the universities and other NGOs and research institutes in HEC mitigation. I think this is what you have expected.
Exactly. This is really true, and I think that I'm hoping that as a result of this, at least a result of this, as an outcome, agencies will start using universities more to help them, particularly in some of the analysis. Since I mentioned that Mrs. Priyana Navaratna was doing a development plan for tourism in the northwestern province, I'm wondering whether this, some of the suggestions here would help you to, whether there are any ideas here that you could take to incorporate into that plan and take it to the next level. So at least we have something operating.
Thank you. Actually, I highly appreciate that work and the planning team and the guidance given by all the department lecturers and head of the department. Actually, we all know that this kind of issues we cannot solve in one solution. Therefore, we have to think about these four solutions as well as the other, if there's the other solutions. Actually, up to now, we have identified several issues, and we have done analysis for this tourism master plan for the Wayamba northwestern area. Actually, so this presentation that I thought most of the suggestions we can apply for this master plan, and also we want to think about some other areas as well. Then I think I can present it after a few months, then finishing this analysis part. Actually, I hope that I thank you very much for our future generation. They think about the different way. I think I didn't see any time this kind of research. I don't know whether they have done, but I didn't see. Therefore, especially I thank for these staff members, and actually they have contacted me also to get some helps. For that, actually, I really appreciate this work, and I am very happy to involve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also really hoping that since there is a plan being developed for one province, where a lot of these suggestions can be incorporated, is suggested. If that plan, once it is gazetted, that will be a model for other provinces to develop their development plans, tourism development or business development or any other development plans, to try to factor in the elephant issue. Because it clearly shows that the national physical planning, when it was developed in 2007, had neglected this very important aspect. I remember the DG at that time was a very close friend of mine. He and I had major fights about this, because I kept telling him, you're aiming at developing areas that you are going to have huge human-elephant conflict issues. And I think the students have seconded that in what they have said. So I think it's a very good thing that we can try to actually take some of that information into your plan and move it forward. I was also very happy that Kaushalya was willing to come for this presentation today, because Mahaveli zones are hotbeds of HEC, and Mahaveli has a lot of power in planning that area. So whether you saw anything from this that you could take into trying to address this problem in the Mahaveli areas.
Yes, first I also should thank them for their very huge research work. Actually, this is a national scale research work, and thank you for that, for all the lecturers and all the whole university. And yes, true that there are some gaps there, we also noticed, but they have done their part as students of the university. So our part, the researchers and the development practitioners and all of us we have to take the responsibility of taking their message and take it to the development process to make a success. So thank you again for the girls and boys for the marvelous work. And from my side, sir, so what I have to tell now, from the 4 solutions, what I made the most attention is the coexistence part. So, most of the parts were taken from Mahaveli areas. Your research work was based on the Mahaveli base. So all of you know that there's a land issue there in the Mahaveli areas. So the lands were given for the farmers according to 2 ordinances, the state land ordinance and the land development ordinance. So then when we are going for this kind of work in the area, it's not a easy work. So the farmers are very keen on their land, even for an inch, they are very keen on their land extent and how they are going to use their land for cultivation and other purposes. So, so apart from that, so then I got the message of coexistence is the best practice. At the moment also we are practicing that because we can't avoid the people from the conservation area, so we can't avoid the elephants. That is our ground level experience. I think Mr. Mara Singh will also agree with me, the situation they are in the ground. So keeping away the farmers is not an easy work. A lot of encroachments, lot of illegal cultivation is also there. So if the national planning is going to change, that is something, but it will take some long time and a lot of decisions has to be taken before that. But what we can do at this point, with our effort, with these findings to be taken into the ground, what we can do is what I believe is coexistence part, because they have suggested nicely how the scattered houses can get together and how the cultivation lands. But you have to think about the land blocking out pattern also. I saw that you are suggesting that we can go for new land maps. Of course, some areas you can go for new land blocking out plans, but some areas you can't do it, never. So we have to, according to this ground situation only, you can adapt the solutions, but I feel we can talk it later, more on. So I think that is the base.
I thought there'll be a lot of issues for Chatura to answer, but there aren't anything major. The thing that I would like to ask you is, I believe that the National Physical Plan is being revised at this moment. The inputs that you all have given, because the National Physical Plan of 2007 was also projected development areas, not actual development. The ground situation hasn't changed much. And the physical plan has not taken elephant HEC into account, which your students have given a very good idea of how that should be taken into account. Whether, since you deal with NPPD much more than we do, would they be open to incorporating some of these things in the revision of the plan? Because it would be such a shame at this point, after we have this type of information, to ignore it and go ahead with another plan. Whether you have had any discussions to that effect, or to see what you think about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think a lot of praise being thrown to our students for their work, and from the university side, before answering a question, we need to admire the efforts put in by all these people, probably who gathered here, who work in different areas, different experts, different institutions, who have done a lot for this problem, to address the problem. So we need to admire what they have done. So thank you very much for, like most of the data that we use are from what is already available. So very big thanks to all the experts, institutions, government, you name it, for contributing and keep on talking about it. Going back to the question about this NPPD, now yesterday also we had a presentation to some of the staff at NPPD, and previously we had this presentation to the current Director General of National Physical Planning Department, and also we have the former Director General of National Physical Planning Department, Professor Jagat. Like that time he was in charge of it. Like we had discussions like how this can be revised. Now, this perspective of incorporating LUCIs was a turning point. I mean, like even in planning, because earlier it was only about settlement suitability. Now we managed to incorporate other two dimensions to it, so we better understand the problem. Now, that is itself not enough, because now one thing you raise, yes, this national physical planning, for some reason, which is under revision, God knows the reason why it is revised, because these plans are prepared for like 30 years. The revision should start at least after 8 10 years. So revising within 5 years doesn't make sense. But whatever it is, now, let's say these revisions are incorporated, they are more welcoming of ideas. But still again, we have to sort of very come to an agreement that this is a plan that we are going to follow for at least 10 years. Because even incorporating the revision, we follow it, and after a few years, if a government change or policy change, if the drastic change, then it doesn't make sense, because I think other institutions will be like lost in the way, because if the plans, national plans are revised in that level. So that is something like incorporation, they are welcoming. And what is very important is we have to have a national sort of agreement that we are going to go use the national physical plan as the basis of incorporating all these sectoral policies. And the third one, now it's also a question, who is responsible for implementation and monitoring? Now that is something that there's a void in the National Physical Planning Act itself, because the preparation is there, but implementation and monitoring doesn't say explicitly. And there's also another element. Now, National Physical Plan, as you may understood, now the resolution that we use for this national level is 5 meter grid. But when it comes to grassroots level, there must be more sort of a high spatial resolution, and that is, we have a mechanism called regional planning. And regional plan, and then Ms. Priyani representing UDA is for local planning. So we need to have this chain, because having a national plan and then the regional planning is not done, then again translating this plan to the bottom grassroots level, local level, village level doesn't make sense. So I think that these are the gaps that we have to fill in. And also sort of I think you asked the question about this ideology. Now that is something we need to have a wider forum, because these contesting ideologies are probably based on the expertise, experience and various perception. Now, if we cannot come to, not only planners play a little role, but whoever is interested has to have a national dialogue and come to an agreement like what way we are believing. Because we can't keep on changing this ideology, because ideological differences lead to completely different alternatives. But from a national policy point of view, we can't keep on changing that as well. And also, once we have a national consensus on the principles to follow, and then it has to be communicated to stakeholders, agencies, and even to the people. Everyone should sort of keep on believing that principle. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, because as long as it's ideological difference, same as the plan, if ideological differences change from time to time, then we can't sort of see where the plans are. Because plans should evolve from the ideological clear consensus among whoever works on this. So these are some of the things, I think, gaps probably. And to summarize, I think like NPPD and UD that we presented, they are more welcoming, but there's a lot to be done to sort of realize the plan.
Yes, I think you raised a very valid point that plans keep changing. In fact, I remember some time ago when I was in some other country, some government official there asked me in Sri Lanka, what is your long-term planning horizon? So I was quite embarrassed to say that it's 5 years on the day of the election and gets shorter from there that day onwards. Because factually that is what is happening, and that cannot happen. For a country to develop, we should have long-term plans. So it's critical. Before I put one more round, I would like to see whether there are any questions in the audience people would like to raise. Yes. Can you get a mic?
Yes, I do agree that plans shouldn't change with the change of governments or with the change of officials. But shouldn't plans also evolve? Because should there be no leeway for the plans to evolve? Because in case something like the tsunami or something hits, it can't be set in stone, right? No plan can be set in stone. What are your views on it? Yeah.
100% agree, because planning has to be a dynamic process, but this revisions has to be done on a systematic basis. As you correctly mentioned, let's say occurrence of a natural disaster, or if we have a clear national goal, there must be a reason for the revision. I mean, revision, the rational, I mean, plan is not a static document. Anywhere in the world now, probably I can add a bit of thought, like as I work with the industry and the Town Planners Institute, it's a process. It continues to evolve, continue to revise, but it has to be done in a systematic way, not in an ad hoc way. That is the point I think what we need to emphasize, because what we understood now NPPD Act has the provisions for the formulation, but implementation, monitoring and review is a void. And even now the recent revision, right? And if you go and ask from people why it is happening, there's no clear reason. Probably like economic crisis would have been a reason. So I think I totally agree. It has to be done in a systematic way, and plans should change, because plans should not serve as static documents where everyone should sort of worship and believe. No, it should evolve, it should revive, it should modify, but on a sort of a systematic basis.
Now this is a concern I also have now. In 2020, a presidential committee was appointed to develop a national human-elephant conflict mitigation action plan. It was developed in 2020, but presented to the president at that time. There was no instruction to implement it. Then until 2022, nothing happened. And in 2022, I was contacted by the Presidential Secretariat saying that HEC mitigation action plan is needed. So I said, there is one. So can we please try to implement that? What is lacking is implementation of that plan. So a presidential committee was appointed to facilitate. Implementation is done by the responsible agencies, try to facilitate it. Unfortunately, zero money was allocated to the agencies. So that was a bit of a problem, but we still, through the committee, we managed to speak to World Bank and Asian Development Bank, trying to justify. ADB and World Bank was having irrigation rehabilitation projects, and the Mahavali water security project, the irrigation project was from World Bank. ADB had a Mahavali water security investment program. So the whole purpose of providing more water for agriculture is to increase productivity. If elephants come and eat the crop, you have lost the whole investment, is wasted. So protecting agriculture through community fences, seasonal agricultural fences, should be part of the development project. It should not be that the development sector does a project and then tells wildlife to deal with the problem. That is not practical. So fortunately, those two projects agreed to do that, and with that funding, we have managed to do some work in Kurunegala, Anuradhapura, and Puttalam districts, where I think about 300 seasonal agricultural fences have been erected by the institution, which is the Department of Agrarian Development. So my fear now is that will the new government want to come up with their own plan? I have been appealing to people I know in the government, saying that the plan has an option after 2 years to take experiences into account and revise the plan. If you're trying to do something, do it on that framework rather than coming up with a new plan. So I don't know what will happen. I'm hoping that it will be a continuation of this, because if not, we are back to square one once again. We spend another year developing a plan. So you're just wasting time when things can happen. And I think, Mr. Marasinghe, it might be good for you to add some of the measures that Wildlife Department has been taking this year. And I think you all have some reasonably good results.
Yes, what we have done was not something, it's not a quantum leap, right? What we have so far done was an incremental change. So what we did was, we concentrated more on looking after the fences this year. And the other thing is, we tried to educate the rural people regarding, how to, the problem sometimes is, now we are talking about this village fences and agricultural fences and boundary fences. But the thing is, the time that people move, we can't control. Sometimes government factories are, their shifts are, organized in such a way that their productivity is increased, but that keeps all these, the people who are working in those industries move in the night. So because of that, we tried to discuss with the people, and we got support from divisional secretaries and electricity board to clear up the bushy areas, then have street lights functioning. So that helped us to reduce the human-elephant conflict. So I don't think it is a quantum kind of a change, but it is just improvement of whatever the practices that you are doing. But
no, I think we all have to realize that HEC mitigation is not going to change overnight. It is a gradual process with incremental changes that will result in a level of manageable conflict. Right? Any other questions from the audience? Yes, please. Run.
I would like to add something for that question earlier. Yes. Actually, when we are preparing a plan, we are prepared for the certain period. Then you all know that. Then maybe halfway of that period, we can revise it. Then normally UDA prepared local plans for 10 years. But after 5 years, we have legal power to revise based on the other critical changes of the maybe natural, maybe government policies like. That is also, we have to consider that. Thank you.
But Chatura's point of ideology is a very important one. If you have a completely different ideology the next time around, then you have to go back to square one. So that's quite important that there is consensus in a country on the ideology, so that at least the changes are only within a certain framework. There was a question somewhere back there. Somebody raised their hands. Is there anybody? No? Yes, Anand. Yeah, just...
after.
Yeah, after. You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll get it to him after. Can I also ask you to introduce yourself? And
I'm Upendra, I'm architect, also urban designer.
Yes.
And I did something on my own, which I shared it through Dr. Ramesh to you as well. My issue is that we talk about things like this and we tend to forget them. It's too urgent to forget it any further because the conflict is getting too complicated now. And we need to talk about, even in your report, you talk of a long-term master plan. And I think that might be prudent to look at how we could all put our heads together and work on a master plan. And see, I have looked at integrated land management approach used in certain countries, which seems to bring all these issues together. And it looks as fragmentation of land as the key problem, not only for human-elephant conflict, as well as urban development and housing and so on. So in the broader sense, that's also another way of looking at it. And I would like to share that I also come to university, so let's see how we can work together. Thank you.
thank you. Dr. Anand.
My name is Anand Mallatantri, various agencies before. First, congratulations to University of Moratuwa for all this great work. That opens up, as Sumit said, many minds. I have been associated with the NPP process since 2000, the various stages that you had 17 committees. So later, my experience was that the NPP is not well known in the Sri Lankan planning community. I ended up actually about 6 months ago taking the finance ministry to NPP office because there were certain plans being developed that could have been benefited by having the NPP in hand. So that explains to us that there's a huge void, that we need to have a good planning, formal, informal community in Sri Lanka that comprised of Sri Lankans who want to do something here and technically competent and who will believe in themselves, and working with the universities and the people like you in different departments. So that community is much essential to break away from our traditional institutional silos. There is something I noticed while working in the last 2 years in the President's office. Second thing I want to highlight is at the end, as Sumit said, we ended up having a financial problem at the end. We have great grandiose plans, foreign experience brought in here, we wanted to do some things, but we are stuck. But I think now today's work has given us an opportunity to capitalize on something that we have been working during the last couple of years, last 1 year. That is to prepare in Sri Lanka to issue green bonds and to attract sustainable financing. Now the Colombo Stock Exchange can issue a green bond. Now if you look at the elements that got presented today, preparing the tank cascades, making the water available, and also growing certain things that are in the habitat so that elephants will consume that and not think about coming to the thing. Waste management, I don't think we saw that piece because waste management is one of those drivers that has created the part of the conflict. Because elephants, to my knowledge, loves the milkiness of the rice and the salt. So I think people know. So I think these kind of individual ones are really suitable for green bonds. You say, okay, we will prepare, we will do all the food and the water to elephants. I think that story can, with the support of private sector in Sri Lanka, can bring a lot of money into this picture. So likewise, if you dissect this whole proposed ideas and go to disaster management side and then say, okay, we will do this dense planning in certain things so that will reduce this disaster. So and then the climate change will bring more money in. So I think I think today's ideas give us a lot of thoughts to initiate some new initiatives that will bring money immediately so that, and then that require another thing. No one will give us money unless you have a management effectiveness tracking and the transparency. So then I think that's where our corporates are coming in. Corporates can vouch for it. We have the world best corporates for monitoring and tracking in Sri Lanka. We can work with them. And then the last point I want to highlight is that we only consider only one species. And there are more species. And this whole world is, I was the head of IUCN in Sri Lanka for 8 years. So species balance with each other. And we need to work on that. For that at plus, then again, you need to bring this new subject. It's not new to Sri Lanka, but it has to be made new now, the ecosystem environment accounting. Without that, we cannot justify conservation and this kind of proposals because people will be talking about the ROIs and the net present values. The only way we can make it positive is bringing in this ecosystem accounting. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And again, congratulations. I've been working with this team in different times in Moratuwa also. Really happy for them. Thanks.
Thank you, Anand. I think you have raised something very important that we really need to think about the green bonds. That's something that we should seriously consider. Are there any other questions? Yes, please. The mic is coming.
Yeah, this is again, I'm Janaka Dharmasena, I'm an architect. So since you have mentioned about the ideological level, I would like to mention in Sri Lanka, we are generally talking about development plans. I think we should start talking in terms of environmental plans, where the development and the conservation get equitable, not equal, equitable considerations. So I would like to get your opinion.
That's a very good point. In fact, when you suggested in your previous comments about the fact of a master plan, unfortunately in Sri Lanka we have prepared many HEC plans. But HEC is part of a larger elephant conservation and management master plan, which we don't have. Sri Lanka has never had one. So that's why even in the action plan, preparation of HEC action plan, our mandate was, we were given a TOR, we had to work according to that. We had suggested that. We still haven't been able to get a committee appointed for that because of various politics between various ministries and agencies that we have had. So it was about to be appointed about 3 months, 2 or 3 months before the presidential election, and that also didn't materialize. So I'm hoping that that will be done, because actually HEC should be one chapter of that. We are now focusing only on HEC, not the larger plan. If we solve the larger problem, then HEC obviously will reduce. I would like to ask both of you, since you all are representing agencies that can actually take this to the a step forward, whether would you all like a broader presentation more focused on what is applicable to Mahaveli and UDA by the university? Because even when I was asked to do this, I said I don't want this to be the be-all and end-all of it. So we have a big discussion and go home. Then we have not achieved anything. We have to at least try to take some of the ideas to the next level. Whether that would be something useful doing.
Actually, now we are preparing that master plan, tourism master plan, because we can incorporate most of the things to that
into that plan.
That's why we identified that one. Then especially elephant also we can incorporate for the tourism. Then actually I thought that we can incorporate most of the things, and we can work together in future to complete our plan with the University of Moratuwa, because our target is to gazette this master plan within end of the 2025.
Oh, okay.
Then I think after that we can implement it. And we can enforce, and especially I want to mention that I identify that the most of the government land released by the divisional secretariats. But they don't have any guideline to release those land. These days we got a lot of clearances for the solar projects and other agriculture projects. But most of that land areas were actually used by the elephants. Then we have to think that one, and we have to give some kind of solution to that. That's why actually actually UDA, there's no, our scope, not the regional plans, local plans, but we involve that because we want to solve these some issues. We want to introduce a land use plan with guidelines. Then division secretariat can release those lands according to that guideline.
That is a very critically important thing, because what has happened in the past is development agencies, divisional secretariats, everything, when they are doing releasing land for development, you don't consider HEC because you think that's a wildlife department's problem. The new action plan is trying to bring other stakeholders together so that it becomes everybody's problem. If not, it's very easy to put the blame on wildlife and say, hey, you guys have to solve the problem. But as I always say, that while HEC issues arise from unplanned or poorly planned development and illegal encroachments. As far as I know, wildlife department has not been doing any poorly planned or unplanned development outside their protected areas, neither have they done illegal encroachments. So why should they be the only people holding the can when it comes to HEC mitigation? It should be the agencies that are involved in the development area as well. So the new action plan looks at it like that. And that's why it's really great that those guidelines will really help the divisional secretaries in when they are trying to release land. And that's why we are also very grateful to Mahaveli Authority, because they were very willing participants in the National Action Plan, the committee implementing, because Mahaveli areas, they have a lot of jurisdiction over villages and agriculture, right? So whether, okay, you are the one representing Mahaveli today, would it help if the students can come and give some concise presentation to your colleagues on this, so that it goes beyond within the, it's incorporated within the Mahavali planning things.
Yes, sir. Before that, I'll come to her question. Now, why there's the absence of quite a broader level master plan?
Yes.
So, as she clearly mentioned, now when we take about these government agencies, we have different mandates. Even in this elephant conflict also, we have different mandates. The wildlife department is concerning about their conservation areas and how to protect their protected areas, how to get rid of to minimize the harm to elephants. In our case, in Mahavali authority case, we are concerning about the crops and the people's lives. So there are different mandates. So this is not only one agency's task, not the wildlife department, but as Dr. Pilapitiya clearly said, now we had the committee with different stakeholders. Not the ground level officers, all were DG level or the Deputy Director General level, the decision makers. So the Department of Wildlife, Forest Department, and the Agrarian, Mahavali, then irrigation, everybody came there. So then all the issues were taken into the common platform, and according to the ground level scenario, the different solutions were given at that time. So all of, not only the University of Moratuwa, I think, so all the scientists here, maybe the journalists or the private sector people, all should get together to come up with a good solution as a country.
Exactly.
That's my personal view. And for the university, I cordially invite you all. So because from the beginning of Mahavali, because actually as they clearly mentioned, because one of the biggest development work was done by Mahavali authority, and lot of human corridors were blocked. So most of the time the wildlife department is fighting with us. You have closed this corridor, that corridor, and so all the time we have to get discussions from them, and to give, when we are allocating lands for development projects also, we are concerning their concurrence, and we are giving lands. So now from the beginning of the development project, we are spending lot of money because of this human-elephant conflict. Each and every year, you won't believe, the Mahavali action plan, yearly action plan, we allocate huge amount of money for elephant fencing. So that is a norm. So otherwise we can't do any work. Even for our Mahavali farmlands, we have to do the elephant fencing, and we are maintaining with huge amount of annual allocation. So with that, we tried to go for new innovations. We had many pilot projects with different agencies, but everything failed. I think also the wildlife department is also supporting us to go for new technology pilot models, but it was not in a success. And we are looking for some new research components and how we are going to do it, so that now the university can come up and work with us.
Thank you. I was very encouraged in your previous comments when you said of the models you will go for coexistence. I thought a development agency might say separation, but it's very encouraging that we have, because we have almost no choice but to go for coexistence between the two.
We have no choice, what I feel.
It's and by coexistence I like to define, because sometimes when we say coexistence, people think you must have elephants in your garden. That is not what we mean by coexistence. Sharing the landscape, but with barriers separating people and elephants. But the landscape has to be shared. I would like to, I know he didn't ask a question, but I would like to ask Dr. Vijay Mohan whether he could give a brief description of your hanging fence, because I don't think a lot of people here are familiar with it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of course, hanging fence is everywhere now, from Hambantota and Putlam areas. So that I actually designed and introduced in Hambantota 2016. So it was a hanging fence that I had it with the L-shaped model. But now I have come up with a new one, that with a straight one where the poles are also electrified. And this hanging fence I introduced to India also, where they are using in 4 states in India. But unfortunately, Sri Lanka, the wildlife department is still haven't yet to start with that hanging fence. But public are using it in many places. And they are coming up with a lot of success rates in hanging fence. Even fake hanging fence are working very well with keeping elephants at bay. So I think thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And with coexistence, as a biologist, I have certain reservations with coexistence. As you said, coexistence is not something that we live together in one place, but living side by side. But many people take coexistence in a different level, thinking that they can live together. Like if you take coexistence of lions in Gujarat, where in Gujarat lions come all the way to you and take the meat of peace from your hand. So is this the coexistence that we wanted for our elephants also? Is a big problem. Because coexistence from biological point of view, it can mean several things. So even say parasitism is coexistence. A parasite live in your body is also coexistence. Commensalism, where one animal benefit from other, is also coexistence. Mutual and living together is also coexistence, where amensalism, where one animal will get benefit and other one will not get anything. So everything will come under coexistence. The coexistence actually, as organisms, you know, here we have a number of professors from zoology. When you say coexistence, whenever you have two organisms living, it can be anything, whether plant or human, animals or animals, plants, they interact. Those interactions you cannot stop. If you stop, you are interfering with the ecosystem. So if we are trying to interfere into the ecosystem, the damage are going to be huge, which we won't be able to reverse it after some time because the damage is done. For example, if we are trying to coexist, like being friendly with elephants, we will definitely involve in their evolutionary process. There won't be any proper evolution, selection process, nothing will happen, but we'll end up with a polluted gene pool. So what is important is a genetically viable population. That is the most important thing, which many people don't understand that. So I think that is very important when it comes to coexistence. We should not interfere with their lifestyle. Their natural living style. So that is the most important thing. So many people get it wrong. And I think because there are very bad examples of coexistence all over the world. And I was, last year, I was at a conference at Oxford, where human-animal coexistence conference. There are many people who are talking about like what you happening in Gujarat, where the lions will be sitting on one side, people can just walk. So that is not, it is not the lion that we wanted. It's a totally different, it has lost the wilderness. So are we wanted our elephants also to be like that, or any other animals to be like that, is a big problem. So I think now that we have created, it has come up with human-animal coexistence conflict, and recent statement by the minister, and many people talk perception from cities, and perception where people are sharing their land with animals are totally one against the other. So we have to be very cautious when we take decisions on this. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, Vijay Mohan. That's why I defined what I meant by coexistence, because I know this tends to be confusing. It's you're sharing the landscape, but separately, right? Any other comments from anybody or questions? Yes, Lakdas.
My name is Lakdas Nandu. I'm speaking today as a farmer from Dilmah. So I'm facing every day almost human-elephant conflict. Now, talking about coexistence with wild animals, we in Dilmah we live with cobras and Russell vipers and so many others. But people know how to approach these situations where they don't get into conflict. In the night, they avoid going without a light and so on. And they know what time the bites are, faithful and so on. So, in the human-elephant conflict side, I'm surrounded by, I have a wildlife department electric fence, which is broken almost every day by the elephants. Then I have electric fence around my garden. That also is broken. Even the concrete post that brought the mains power to the house was broken by the elephant so that the current failed and entered. So I saw this fencing, new type of fence in Sarvodaya, which I sent to Spencer today, and I learned that was designed by Dr. Vijay Mohan. And apparently, at the moment, that's the only working fence. But all the other fences of the bygone era were also working fences. And the elephants came how to tackle them. So this, I don't know how long it will last, but for the moment, I think that is the solution that is available, which is working. So that's what I want.
That is why I wanted Dr. Vijay Mohan to talk about it a bit. Yes, Miss.
I'm Narmada. I'm an environmental educator. So my question goes to all the panelists. So what's the potential of reducing HEC by restoring the irrigation system or the potential water resources in dry zone? Because we had a good cascading system and also some system of Kulu wave, right? So what's the potential of reducing HEC, the restoring of water resources?
Shall I let the water person and the wildlife person handle? Wildlife, Ranjan, why don't you say something?
Again, we have to be very careful when you work with the habitat development, because if you see how this elephant population went up in the history, when we open up the forests and start agriculture, farming, and provide more water, creates better habitats for elephants. So I think in a way, if you increase the water availability without considering other factors, it is going to be a negative contributor also. For a short period of time, we will be able to reduce HEC force sometimes, but that magnitude may not be that effective when it comes to the total problem.
But one of the biggest issues is, for the elephant, more than water, it is food that they come out of that they are coming into conflict with humans. Because Sri Lanka, unlike most other countries, food and water is, particularly water, is widely available. Even in the height of the drought, within short elephants walking distances, you can access water.
Yeah, the other thing
so it's the fodder that they keep coming into conflict by trying to access fodder.
Yeah, the other thing is now if you take the biggest population of Asian elephants, that is in India, 35,000 plus, right? And Sri Lanka, we have maybe more than 5,000, right? So if you work out the density, we are having 0.09, right? Almost 1% density, right? India, it is 0.09, 89 something. So we have 10 times higher density compared to India. And I think in Asian elephant range states, we are at the second or third level when it comes to human population density. At the same time, we are the second highest density. We are owning second highest density of roads. That means it is an indicator for habitat fragmentation, because the highest number is 176 kilometers per square meter, something that is in Bangladesh, and we are number 2. So all these factors are contributing to human-elephant conflict. So we should not forget that, because now when I joined the department in 1998, were 1,500 elephant to 3,000. People question about those estimates. Most of the time, those numbers are guesstimates. But now we talk about 6,000 elephants in Sri Lanka or plus, right? So that means now when we joined the department, the general understanding about the elephant population is within next 5 years, we are losing all elephants from Sri Lanka. So that was the, understanding. But now we are saying the same thing. Next 5 years, we are losing. So in a way, we are blessed because we have a very rich elephant population. And according to the genetic studies, we see there are 3 different, groups, subgroups. So it's very rich. So now changing habitats, so changing factors of the ecosystem, we have to be very careful because we don't know what will happen, because the density of elephants are very high and pressure are, emerging from all this, because we want to develop, and at the same time, elephants want to have more food, habitat areas. So my answer is increasing water availability will reduce the problem minutely for a short time, but it will negatively impact on the problem in the future.
There's one thing that I think if we plan things better, that will contribute a lot towards reducing. Now, for example, this last few weeks I was in Bhutan. I was doing an assignment for the World Bank. World Bank is, the government of Bhutan has sought World Bank assistance for a highway in the southern part of Bhutan, trying to connect Nepal, India, Bhutan, and down to Bangladesh. The Bhutan section of the highway, there's just 15 kilometers that goes through forest, not even protected area. The royal government of Bhutan is at initial discussion stages with the World Bank. So project has not even been approved. So no designs have been done, no contracts have been awarded or anything like that. At that initial stage, they wanted the World Bank to bring somebody who understands elephants to try to figure out how do we deal with the elephants in these 15 kilometers. So now we have enough time to do radio collaring and all that to figure out where the movement paths are, so that we can have underpasses or overpasses for the elephants to move through, and try to identify whether HEC will increase or not and what we have to do. See, the thing is, they started doing it while they were having discussions with the funding agency. Here we tend to do it once the road is built. Then we sit and try to figure out how to deal with the problem. So I think planning early, at the early stages. So I urge everybody who is representing government agencies from the development sector, get people who know about these things involved at the early stages. Because by the time Wildlife Department gets a chance to comment on it, it's at the EIA stage. By the EIA stage, we have acquired land, we have got the money, we have signed contracts. So the EIA becomes just a bureaucratic requirement. So the EIA is a very powerful planning tool. Unfortunately, we in Sri Lanka don't use it as a planning tool. We just use it as a regulatory requirement that we have to pass. The day we start using it as a planning tool, a lot of these problems, not only HEC, but many environmental problems can be reduced. Any other comments? Yes.
When it comes to the water issue, I think we have more than enough evidence of excessive water when it affects the elephant, right?
Yes.
When we go to the Bidden area or Lunugambehera or Kalava, there are huge issues because
problems because too much water.
Yeah, too much water. Then I think the management of water is the essential part.
Yes.
You know, we have more than enough water for the elephants.
Yes.
For the elephants, we have more than enough water.
Why is the Department of Wildlife Conservation hanging on the hanging fences? Have they not done studies, or has, you know, some where there is high HEC, right? Those other departments could do research to find out whether the hanging fences are working. Now, one person from some area said it's working. So why are we dragging our feet? Is it a problem with finances? Is it a problem? I don't know what it is.
I think it's mostly the practicality. Now, hanging fences are very effective, and we worked with Vijay Mohan when he started this trialing it in Hambantota area. But the thing is, now the Department of Wildlife Conservation is focusing on very long ecological boundary-based fencing. So at the moment, we have 3 wires. And you know, the posts are located, I think 40-50 meter apart from one to another. But still, we cannot manage, because we have more than 4,000 kilometers of electric fences. And if you estimate the demand, the total demand is 6,000, right? So that is very long fence. So management is a problem. So hanging fences are very effective, that's true. I think practically it is good for those community fences or agriculture, farming area based fences, because if you don't manage them properly, it will be very ineffective also, right? So because you have a lot of hanging wires, and you have to be maintain it properly. So that can be very effective for farmlands and other human-based things. So that's my idea. So, and costly, it's also costly because we are using a lot of wires rather than 3 wires, right? So, and maintenance is also a costly thing. And the other thing is now Department of Wildlife Conservation is now most of the time projected as a department who should run behind elephants and, removing venomous snakes from urban areas. But actually our mandate is to protect the biodiversity and all the other species, right? So at the moment also, if you look at our investment portfolio, it is 100%, almost 100% we are spending all our resources, human resources, on human-elephant conflict. So those are the conflicting things we are having, because we also need to look at the tourism, we also need to look at the biodiversity-related thing. We have to have our enforcement arm functioning properly, because that is also a very improved, very important one, because most of the time we see now the biopiracy is happening. So those are the real work that we have to undergo. So I think for practical reasons, it's for department, hanging fence is not that ideal. For small establishment, it's very effective, because our mandate is to safeguard the ecological boundaries. The most practical fence is the 3-wire ordinary fence. Yes.
Well, just a minute, I'll let Kaushalya.
No, we did it. Not your fence, but we took the technology from the Inventors Commission. That time it was under, now it's under the Science and Technology Ministry. They introduced us a kind of hanging fence type, and the whole investment was done through young vocational training leavers from the vocational training institutes of all around the country. And they introduced us with the hanging fence, high voltage. I don't think that it was approved by the Department of Wildlife also. The voltage was very high. So, but we got the concurrence from the department also at one time for a pilot project, and the DWLC did it at Karuwala Gaswaba, small, as he said, a very small extent. But to take the new technology, we adapt the technology from them for our Toda farm that is located in Girandurukote System C. That was it's a 10-kilometer farm. The total length of the farm is 10 kilometers. It was surrounded by a drainage line also. So they suggested us with the new technology, they suggested us not go for a bended fence. You go for a hanging fence, because since the drainage line is there, that is better for the location. So we adapted that. But that was during the corona period. Our farm was not fully operational. At that time, it was not in fully operational time, and the maintenance was very minimum. But we expected at least for 2-3 months it will go with that hanging lines. But unfortunately, there was sagging occurrences came. It was sagging. Here and there it was sagging, and then the line goes down, and then the earthing was happening, and the total fence was down within 2-3 weeks. Because the farm was located in an elephant corridor area, and we couldn't manage the elephant. The herd is around 100-150 like, so we couldn't do anything. And even the wildlife department, they couldn't do anything, and the total fence was now down. So I also agree with Mr. Marasika. It will be very fine for little extended, locations, like small areas, like 2-3. I don't think even for 2-3 kilometers. I'm not sure, but for lengthy fences, we can't use that. Our experience is like that, but I don't know with some of my.
No, let me, just a minute, let me wrap up. I'm supposed to wrap up at 5 o'clock, but I don't think it is fair to Dr. Vijay Mohan if I don't let him respond to this. So a quick response and then we'll wrap up. Yeah. But I would like to suggest that agencies that are trying this to consult him, because he has tried and tested this for many years.
I introduced to India, I have all the documents where I went and invited by the Karnataka government and introduced to them. After that, they have established more than 2,000 kilometers. And Professor Suguma is one of the leading biologists. He said that's the most effective in India. Indian government has incorporated, and in fact, it's one of the most successful in India. So nobody contacted me, even, sorry to say, signalist. The Wildlife Department never contacted me to establish and show it to us. But anyway, now there's a new design I have established in Bombay University. It's the owner of the fence is University of Bombay. I gave the authority to the University of Bombay. Anybody can come and see it. And the hammer of the fence was for 10 years. Yeah, from 2016, now 8 years, still functioning. It's the same fence that I put without any siding, without any problem. But maintenance is free, but still it is.
So I would like to take this opportunity of thanking first all the panelists who have given us their valuable contributions and their views on this, and the audience who participated today. And finally, but not least, once again, the University of Moratuwa, the students and the faculty, students in particular, for doing such a very good analysis and doing such a very good project. Thank you very much.